Okay, so we've done some practices of some blending using the wet on wet technique. Hopefully you found that kind of got easier as you went along and got the hang of that. That will definitely come in handy as we do our observational painting today. So the first step is just to put your cake or your object in front of you. So with your drawing, it'll be the same as you'd start any drawing if you were doing it in any material. Big shapes first, then detail. It would be a really good idea to map out some of the areas that you have the brightest highlights in, so the lightest areas, just so that you can keep those blank as you work, a little bit like we did with watercolour. So as with any observational study that you do, the most important thing is to observe. So that's the way that we're going to make sure that our work is as accurate as possible. We're going to keep looking at our object as we paint and as we draw. And this is really, really important with shape, but also with colour. So some people do this a little bit differently to others. The way that I normally paint is just by working at a small section at a time and trying to match the colours as I go along. Other people might prefer to kind of start from the lightest colour and start with a wash, which I'll show you in a second, and then build up in layers. So either way, I'm going to look at my whole object and I'm going to decide where the lightest colours are, okay? So I think on this object, because of where the light is currently hitting the object, I think actually on the top is where my lightest colours are, then underneath here, and then they're kind of crossed off the cake there as well. So I've mixed up a couple of kind of the lightest colours or the main colours to paint with some washes. I'm going to take a little bit more water from my pot and I'm going to just add some water to that colour that I've made in order to make my wash. And then this colour here that I've made there, I actually wanted to put over the bottom of my cake. So now I've done my washes, I'm actually leaving the top section blank because, as you can see on the cake itself, that there's a lot of white on the top there, so I wanted to keep that as the lightest colour. I'm going to start actually on the lightest areas and then build up. So I'm going to start on the top there. So the first step will be to mix up a range of different colours that I can see in just that small section. So looking at the cake there's obviously a range of browns, maybe some that are slightly warmer, a bit more orangey, and then some like over here that are a bit darker. So I'm going to be playing between a few different types of brown, even over like, sorry about the shadow, but even over in the back there's some kind of yellowy colours as well, some oranges. So I'm going to make sure that I mix up all of those different colours in small sections on my palette, in small areas on my palette, pile them kind of high so that they don't dry out too quickly, and then I can dip into them as I paint. I'm just going to mix those up now. So I've just mixed up a range of the different colours that I'm going to use. I might mix up more along the way, but I'm going to start applying those from lightest to darkest on the top area of the cake, and I'm going to work in very small sections at a time, and I'll show you as I'm doing it. So I've just finished my observational painting for today, and I just wanted to recap some of the things that maybe I didn't speak about so much. But the main thing really is just to make sure that you keep looking at your reference object. In this case, sometimes it might be a photo that you're working from, but just to keep looking back at that, that's kind of what's going to give you all of the answers, and just to not assume that we know what something looks like. So making sure that we're always looking back at that reference image. The other thing that I didn't speak about so much as I was working there is also looking out for kind of where you can use different types of brushstroke. So for example, in the textures in the top of the cake there, that was quite different to the texture in the underneath. So I used a slightly different brushstroke and slightly different marks to try to illustrate that texture a little bit as I was painting as well. Good luck with your painting today. Looking forward to seeing them.